Today we're going to be painting a Manticore. So let's get started on that. So this is the Manticore Mini that I got from my local game store. It comes with some Vallejo paint and some brushes. I never painted with Vallejo, so this is going to be a treat. You get quite a bit of paint, and you get 2 brushes. All of this just for 20 bucks, not bad. So these are other brushes. My main concern is, will this paint be dry, or will it separate, or knowing that I got some good brushes makes it kind of worthwhile. And it kind of makes me want to take care of these brushes. But anyways, let's start painting. Let's make sure the paint I use is good. Also, I use a Starbucks cup stir stopper thingy, whatever you call them. They work great for mixing. You can use a wooden popsicle stick, but I feel like sometimes when the wooden popsicle sticks, they kind of absorb the paint. So the plastic doesn't really absorb. You can kind of scrape it off and it'll be pretty much easy for cleanup. And I use a brush just to scrape it all off. I'm painting this these whole colors pretty much into a darker tone first for the wings so far, with a darker brown. Also try to keep things neat as possible. I know, as like keeping like a coloring book. Just try to keep inside the lines as possible. I know you can say that I'm an optimistic and want to do it outside, but if you want to keep as much paint as possible in the future, it's also best if you try to keep it as neat as possible. Plus, sometimes darker paints are hard to cover up with a lighter paint, which you have to use multiple coats, which also is wasting more paint. So let's start with the body. First, I had to use a couple of paints that were kind of thick. Just to fix that, you just add a couple of drops of water. Like I said, start off with a couple of drops, and if it's still too thick, then just add a couple more drops, and eventually till you get a nice little less thick. I like to use a little bit thickness, therefore it kind of sticks on. People really thin out their paint and work with coats. Try to start off with a brighter yellow, then I can use a darker color later. Next, I'm going to use a tan brown for the hair. Next, I hit with the bones with some bone white. It was really thick. I had to drop a couple more drops of water because it was like really thick. Don't be afraid if you do hit some white spots onto the hair. I know what I said in the beginning, try to be as careful as possible. Sometimes with more detailed stuff, it can't be done. And plus, if you are going to be using some brown washes or anything else, then it's perfectly fine, because the brown wash will dilute that white, and it's hardly any noticeable, but only you'll know, and only I will know. So that's kind of like a secret between us. Then I hit the wings up with some dry brushing. Dry brushing is my most favorite thing in the world. It really makes things pop out, and stand out, and it makes everything. It just turns everything into a nicer color. Start out with a lighter color. You can dry brush with a lighter color and add a darker color, or you can add, if it's a darker color, add a lighter color. It just helps it stand out more. Make sure you have a really old brush, not a super old brush. Make sure you have a couple of these brushes. Knowing that some of these will destroy the foundation in most of them, just keep a couple of them handy, because for dry brushing it does get pretty forceful. As you see here, I am pretty forceful with it, so like I said, keep a couple of them. Maybe some of the brushes that you used over time, start using those and start implementing them start using them as dry brushes until you start getting new brushes. And just look how much those details look, and they just pop out onto the wings. And this is the reason why I love dry brushing so much, because you can turn a plain simple piece and it can just pop out just like that, and it just looks more detailed without adding any more simple detail. You can go in there and paint every scale or everything, or you can just dry brush it on and it'll just pop it out just like that. And now this is around the time where you kind of got all the messed up parts and everything else. I'm trying to get on all the details. I grabbed a smaller brush for this Vallejo paintbrush. It does work very well for working in all the corners and stuff. I think it's pretty well, and this is around the time where you should start getting all your things and pretty much try to get as much detail as you can, and try not to be afraid of this, because if you're more afraid of messing up, then you're more likely to mess up. Then I'm adding some details with the smaller brush for the teeth. I forgot to record the part where I was doing the nails and stuff, but I did the nails. And now let's start with some washes. And this came with some washes, so I thought we could use some. I'm gonna do some washes for, what do you call it, the main fur. It turned out pretty nice. Washing is pretty, I like washing and dry brushing, but I think I'll probably like dry brushing a little bit more. And so what wet washing does, or what washes do, they kind of fill in the cracks, as in dry brushing they kind of highlight the raised edges into most things. For an example, if you do have a wash and you want some armor to have some wash into there, put some black or brown wash, and it kind of adds a tone to it, and it kind of looks like either the imaginative mind of like, oh, that's a gritty armor, instead of just having a pure shiny armor look. You can have it look like that person's been in battle or everything else. So that what implies, but for dry brushing, it kind of goes within the raised edges, and it kind of highlights those. You can do both of them at the same time and see how they look, but they're both pretty effective. Like, you can, like I said, it can take a plain miniature and put the most simplest and basic elements into it, and when you start adding some dry brushing and some washes, it starts to look more of a detailed piece and everything else into the whole miniature, and it doesn't take as much work. I started adding some more darker colors into the Manticore skin. Try to add a little bit more of a highlight ness, where if I add maybe more of a darker tone on most areas, it's like I said, dry brushing is kind of hard on a smoother area. If it had like some ripples or anything, maybe that would have done well. Maybe I should have put a wash instead. I do kind of put a wash on the face and everything, and the teeth. It kind of, what I felt that it looked good at first, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job at it. But after a while, I just started noticing how negative it looks. And I don't mean negative as a bad thing, but as in a colorway. When you really look at it, you don't want you want your miniature to pop out. And so you want there's a negative and positive side. So most things, when you do look at things in the light, you see dark and light, and for something to stand out, that's why you put dark and white. Think of it as a tuxedo. You got your black, all your black, but then you got that white, and it stands out because it looks nice. It's simple and formatic. Eventually, I had to put some more white tone onto the teeth and everything else. But yeah, I mean, you want your miniature to stand out. You can go with all dark colors. Some of it does work that way, but some of it does not. But other than that, I felt that it needed to have more of a positive tone onto it, as the nails and the teeth stand out. You can still have the grittiness and everything else, but you also need to have, you know, like peacocking. And so we're kind of getting to the close of the end. My editing is bad. I will get better, but towards the end, I did hit my miniature with Mod Podge. Yes, Mod Podge does work as long as you work in small, thin coats. I feel like it's more of a stronger tone to it. It kind of gives it more of a stronger feel. It does mute most of those shiny colors, so if you are looking for a shinier, try to look for more of a shinier varnish or anything else. I just use Mod Podge because it just works for me. Also, with the base and the bottom, I don't really color those because most of the time when you're using a miniature, they're not using anything. You can paint it to whatever color you like. To me, it's just for my own personal base, because if you're going to use this Manticore in a forest setting and you put snow under it, it just doesn't look good when you're playing it out. So, but this is the Manticore, and everything else I will have other things onto there. But yeah, this is what it looks like. So this entire build was pretty good. My only regret about this paint job is I think I should have kept everything white onto it. I like the results so far, but like I said, I think I should have just kept all the bones white. He would have really popped out, just like when I added the whites into it. Like I said, it's just crappy that that I just added that to it. So, but yeah, I mean, so far I'm impressed with it and everything else. So I hope you liked the video. Hope you can like and subscribe and everything else. So I'll be having a terrain build on Thursday.